Hey guys, welcome to an episode of Mindset U, where Jay, Mo, and I, Rancis, we talk about the debate about women. It's talking about being in a forest with a man or a bear, and we discuss it from our perspective and from what we've learned in our own experiences of what women go through. Join in on the conversation and share your thoughts.
Or not. Dope.
So
All right, go ahead, Jay.
with Mo here. What the fuck was that lady talking about in that Instagram post?
Yeah, I had no
I had
idea.
Ashley explain it to me afterwards, and she was like, "You don't want to go down that path." And I was like, "I don't know what
I
path
didn't even
this
know what
is.
they
I
were
don't."
talking. I don't even know what they were talking about.
So
What she
can you
was
correct
talking
me
about.
if I'm wrong? Is it that it's a whole trend where women are saying that they rather be with a bear than with a strange man because what men can do?
So it's a question, which is
Wait, can we start?
if
Oh, we're recorded. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
if you're
My
in the
bad.
forest by yourself as a woman, you're in the forest by yourself. Would you rather be alone in the forest or in the woods with a man, like a man in the forest, or a bear in the forest? And a lot of women have responded to that question with bear. They'll
Yeah.
prefer to be with a bear.
And I get the and I if you look at it realistically, you're like, have you ever seen The Revenant? It's a fucking stupid pitch. You're like, fucking barrel eat the shit out of you. But I mean, I get where they're going at it with it, but I could see the backlash on the internet. And so is that what the girl's talking about? Like the backlash where dude's like, hey, you deserve to get fucking eaten by a bear.
Yeah, so it's created, and this is why I thought it would be interesting. It's created a bunch of discourse, right? Where a lot of women say bear, right?
Yeah.
And like from the perspective of looking at it is like, wow, like what experiences have you gone through or have you seen or witnessed in your life that you feel safer with a bear than with a man? All right.
Yeah.
And it's no guarantee you're gonna interact with a bear or the man or anything. It's just like, hey, we're in this forest and there is a man here, or there is a bear somewhere here. Right. So I think it's interesting discourse, because then, like that post that I sent you guys, it kind of brings up this whole dialogue where like what you said is like a lot of guys are like, what are you talking about? It's stupid, right? There's that sect, right? Then there's the part about getting offended by that, of like how dare you, compare men with bears? Bears
Yeah.
gonna kill you, you dumb bitch. I hope you get killed, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Like that rhetoric. And then there's the holy shit that you have that perception. You have to deal with that. Like that's the level of fear that you have
Yeah.
But can we
with just
question
men.
why? Why can we question why women would have that level of fear with men? Like, let's
Mm-hmm.
just start with everyday kind of stories or movies or just stuff that people talk about in general, and how much more data is received based on interactions with men in general society. Let's not even talk
Mm-hmm.
about a fucking forest. Let's just talk about
Mm-hmm.
in the
And
city or whatever, right? And the
exactly, and
perception that gets versus being in the woods with a fucking bear, right? Like, I think it stems from that. I don't know if it stems from like this idea that men are naturally bad or whatever,
Yeah.
or like have this like negative connotation about men. I just think it's just the perception of being alone somewhere, anywhere, with a man present, right? And even like as a man, depending where you are, right? Like if we go through the Bronx in the hood and you're walking by yourself and you see a man walking down the street at 2 o'clock at night, you're going to be a little bit more aware than if you were walking in the middle of the day with a bunch of people around you, or if you were walking in the middle of the day alone on the street and that man was there by himself. I think it's based on the environment, it's based on so many circumstances that it's unfair to really say like, oh, there's this perception.
Yeah.
well, that's the discourse, right? Where it is saying a lot more than just like, oh, it's, you know, it's just picking one or the other. It is meant to be, the question itself is meant to be kind of meant to raise eyebrows, if you will.
I don't think so, because how many interactions do women have with men? That happens every single day, and just like the negative perceptions of a bad interaction, an argument or something like that, where for one moment they didn't feel psychologically safe, but the man had no malintentions. Like, you have way more interactions with a man in a day than you do with a bear. Like, I don't see a valid argument for that.
That's the point. You have so many interactions with a bear. So going back to the whole data point aspect, there's so much data point in terms of men that for so many women that interacting with men is more risky than whatever information you know about bears. That's the dialogue. You're hitting it right on the head.
Yeah, and I guess my question is like, is a bear on cocaine? Is the bear, because like we see what happens. We see what happens when a bear's on cocaine. Not as fun. He's more dangerous than the ordinary man walking down the block.
So, and this is like, to me, this is like the interesting point about this is that perception. So, looking at, for example, I have a sister, older sister, right? Growing up, she went to Catholic school in New York City, right? So she used to take the train, all this stuff. My sister, throughout her teenage years, had been groped, flashed, all these experiences. And that's my like kind of first interaction. My sister would always raise me, because my sister's 7 years older than me. She was always like a second mom to me. She would always raise me as like how to treat women. Like that was her main thing. It was, everything was about like, you know, how to treat women, all this stuff, which a lot of it came from, I learned this into adulthood. A lot of it came from her own trauma of like how you need to be. How, you know, she'll be going through a breakup as a teenager and she's telling me like, you don't do this to women. And I'm just like, okay. But it's coming from this like super negative place where I found myself like when I was, you know, a teenager and everything, like I was very restricted. I was like, no, you can't do this, you can't do that. There's all these rules around it. But it came from all that trauma. So that's like the first kind of perspective, if you will. And then the second perspective for me comes from coaching. The majority of women that I coach talk about their lives. The majority of women had some sort of negative interaction growing up sexually with men. And like, to me, that was astounding. Like the amount of like, you throw, you know,
it's a lot more than you think. It's way more than you fucking think. It's fucking scary how much more it is than you actually think. Mm-hmm. You know, it's kind of one of those things, you know, that every girl that you know has a story. Mm-hmm. Like that's the sad truth. So like, the whole thing is, you know, it makes sense. I completely understand why the answer is that. And then it just goes into like, what do you do with that?
Mm-hmm. And
you know,
and that's the interesting part, because like, so like the I keep trying to say man, bear, pig from South Park, if you guys don't know.
No,
but the whole dialogue about it to me is interesting, because it's like you can expect a bear to be a bear, right? You can expect a bear to do one of two things: to either attack you because it sees you as a threat or as food, or to avoid you, right? That's what a bear is going to do. You know that. Yeah. But what makes it interesting is that like the idea of like what Moses was saying. Sorry, what Moses was saying before is like there's all types of, I think you were saying this, like there's all types of interactions with men. They're all not all like negative interactions, but it's such a Russian roulette where it can be the worst possible thing that you can imagine, right? Or it can be a lovely day, like that is almost like a bigger risk than it's like
completely.
than what
I mean,
you're going to get from a bear.
what I'm about to say is not to completely dismiss any of those things, because I do agree that
Republican Mo is about to talk.
no, I grew up with three sisters, so I know what experiences women have gone through. You know, I've lived with women my entire life, so I understand what that comes from. What I'm saying is, Rancis, you just said it's a Russian roulette. Either it's going to be a really negative experience or it could be a lovely day. When you boil it down to with the bear, it can either be a really negative experience or it could be a lovely day, right? Like either way, you're still going to get the same outcome. I think what makes it, what I can understand from a woman is the psychological unsafety and uncertainty that comes with being around a man. Like the amount of games that can be played in order, like you can think about like a sociopath or somebody who's like a rapist or something like that, and the way that experience can go, it could also be like torture. Like if I was in a woods with a bear, I got two things that are going to happen to me. Either the bear is going to avoid, or I'm going to get ripped to shreds, and I'll probably endure that for maybe a few minutes and then I'll die. But if there's somebody like chasing you, like just that is fearful, and then going through whatever experience of torture and then being left to
Shit.
deal with it
Let
psychologically.
alone when that torture,
Yeah.
yeah. Let alone when that torture lasts the rest of your fucking
Your
life
fucking life,
because you're in
yeah,
some
the trauma.
wild marriage, or because it's your father, or it's whatever fucking male figure is in your life that yeah, it's a fucking deep dark road. Ladies, y'all have it rough, and that sucks.
But
It's
what I think is interesting about it is that if you applied the logic of like, is it bear or is it man? Like, and these are the ratios, these are the percentage. I don't even think it's about that. And I'm
not
saying this as a
at
man.
all.
It's more about raising the alarms of like, this is the experience that women go through. It's about creating the discussion of that, right? And like that post that I sent you guys is like highlighting where you see the reactions. So if you look at there's a whole trend of that, a bunch of threads with all of that, and you see the reaction of men in particular of like, yo, you crazy, like what, going from strictly logical or just downright evil. And it's that's the point. It's like it's highlighting that. It's highlighting that it's clear as day the lack of empathy of that experience, just because you can't understand it. Like the idea of we can put you guys in a room with the first 100 women we find, and you're two average men, right? You're going to be you're going to be more powerful and able to dominate most likely 100% of those women. I don't mean all at once. I mean like one-on-one. So it's like living in an experience in an environment where like everyone is seen as a lion walking around you, and you have to interact on a daily basis, making sure you keep all those lions tamed and relaxed and well fed so they don't come after you. Like it's a lot of hoops.
Stressful. That's wild. It's insane. It's insane.
Hey guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, please subscribe, like below, comment, let us know your thoughts, and continue to enjoy.
I mean, I agree with you on everything you said. I just don't understand what we would get out of this conversation. Is just to acknowledge that exists. I mean, yeah, I think we've been trying to solve this problem for probably the past
Ever?
yeah, since ever. like women have been going and dealing with this since in the history books you can talk about this, and it's not to say that there's nothing that should be done about it. There should be something done about it. I'm just not quite sure, like, the intent of the conversation more so. It's like what are we trying to say? Like, what are we trying to get out? If it's about the social media post itself, I think it does highlight that there is this perception of men that exist. But I feel like I've known that since I was a kid. I feel like that perception has always existed, and me personally, I've always fought hard to break that perception, right? Because it's automatically put on me as, you might not be safe. We don't know who you are. This is what you're capable of, right? Like, I'm sure we've said, I mean, maybe not Rances, but maybe Jay, like, all men cheat, all men do this, all men do that. Like, these stereotypical things that get placed on me because of, a smaller percentage of men that act like assholes. So like, I understand it. So then it's like, okay, I can understand why someone would want to be with a bear rather than a man. I get that.
To your point, Mo, it's like, what's the point of talking about this? Like, we all know this, and so on and so forth. And the perception that I have behind it is, it's something that, yeah, we can know this, right? And I agree with you. If I walk into a space of women, like, I have to work very hard to win the trust, right? To show I'm not a threat. And that is, I think, a very important thing that is not really talked about, where it's like the other side of this, of the men who are aware of this, the men who work hard to be the protectors, the men who recognize there are other dangerous men out there, right? It's like the three of us, we have our significant halves that I'm sure will protect against the lion directly, So I don't think it's about, like, changing the perception, because that's dangerous, right? If I raise my daughter to believe that all men are good, then that's dangerous, right? But if I show her that there are men like me that are here to protect her, here to reinforce the sense of safety, that there is a space of safety for her, while also teaching her how to defend herself and protect herself in the worst case scenario. I think that's important as well, to speak about that there is a underground protected front for all of this, if that makes sense.
I guess when it comes down to it, it just goes on to how we raise our kids and how we raise the young people around us when it comes to how to deal with women. I try to make it a habit of talking to, like, my younger cousins and stuff like that, especially my nephew, because he's 13 now. So, like, when I hear him talk about girls, sometimes I'm like, no, that's not how you do it, bud. That's not. But then I also remember what it was like being 13 and not knowing, thinking that you know everything, but you don't really know shit when it comes to the opposite sex and stuff like that.
To that point, and to the danger point, like, there's a certain age range, right, where before puberty, where boys and girls are equal, strength wise, athleticism, all of that, right? And then after puberty, you see that change happen where, like, as a man, you don't even have to work out or train or anything. You're just automatically stronger than a female counterpart, right? And that part, like, I remember in high school, I had a female friend who was not aware of that difference. She had a sibling, a brother, who was before puberty. She's like, I'm stronger than him. And then she would say to us, to the guys, like, what do you mean? I'm stronger than you. I'm so strong. You guys don't even know how strong I am. And we're like, yo, dude, you don't understand. Like, it's not even on the same league. Like, the difference of strength from where you are. But she was clueless in the sense of the difference. And to me, that's dangerous. That's dangerous because, like, you're overconfident in a situation where you wouldn't win. Right? So, like, yeah, to me, that highlights kind of that point of, like, for both men and women, like, you need to know the danger. You need to know the experience that other people go through.
But there, I was gonna say, is there any situation that a man is in danger because of a woman?
That's so. I heard someone, because there's the other side of this argument, right? Where it's like, men don't have to experience anything like this, right? If you ask a man if he wants to be in the forest with a bear or a woman, he's always going to say, a woman. And I saw one post of one individual say, but that's not the same question. Like, it's not the same comparison.
Mm-mm.
Ask me if I rather
be in a mall,
share my emotions with a woman or a tree. And that was like, I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'd rather share with a woman.
Well, yeah, now that I'm married and stuff like that,
I'm
but, like,
comfortable doing
single
that.
me is like tree all day, buddy.
but that's the same thing, right? There's certain women where you feel safe and so on and so forth. I don't know if I share with you guys the one post of this one guy who, it's like a dating, I don't know, it's a show. They're dating. There's a bunch of men and a bunch of women facing each other, and they're like asking each other questions. And
is it the one the dude cries?
yeah, because he lost his friend.
Yeah, and all the girls found him not attractive at the end.
Yeah. At the beginning, based off physical appearance, they rated him like number 2, I think, in terms of attractiveness. After he cried and shared, he lost his friend and he's going through this really hard time. The women rated him as least attractive.
That's fucked up.
Yeah. So, like, that highlights that thing, that safety of, like, for men, that psychological safety in that same regard.
I think women are very dangerous psychologically and financially, depending on the woman that you pick.
Yeah.
I think we all pose our own threats in our own ways.
Yeah.
Everybody's dangerous. You just got to figure out how dangerous they are. Yeah, I mean, that's also a great example of why dudes don't show their feelings and stuff like that, because they're viewed as weak, or they become immediately unattractive to the opposite sex sometimes. It's also just a different generation. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. Like, I feel like now that we're a little bit older, like, and I'm seeing somebody my age compared to, like, what it was like when I was dating and possibly dating somebody in their early to mid 20s, and being like, whoa, like, this whole 10-year gap we got here, there's a real gap, and just the way that we look at life and how you view love and relationships and stuff. This new generation's weird, man. I don't know how else to describe it. These kids, they make me feel old. I'm like, y'all are weird. I don't know.
I
You know,
think
they want you to be woke, but then at the same time, they're like, no, be an asshole, and it's just a never-ending circle.
I think that there is this lack. I think what happens is in general, like with men and even women, and I even think that among different age groups, like I see it that we have it as millennials. I've seen it in Gen X. I've seen it as baby boomers. Like seen these behaviors, but it's like a lack of honor that exists, and I think that has to do with like as you're as the generations move on, this kind of like um, foundational like rock that allows values to be transferred from one generation to another continues to break down. It has a lot to do with like divorce rates and like socioeconomic conditions that perpetuate these kind of values, these loss of values. And I think what you see today is that now you see people's values going out the window because of social media and the different behaviors that are accepted that no longer show strong values, but show kind of like behavior that gets you views or fame or money or whatever. And I think that kids believe that this is normal and that it should be accepted, and therefore it doesn't matter. So then it just keeps moving down as something that is accepted. So that's what we see as behaviors. But like I think about it when we were kids, and like our first form of seeing behaviors that weren't normally accepted within at least my family was like MTV. Like MTV started showing me all these different other options of existed, like women, behaviors, how you treat women, all these different things that could possibly exist started from like MTV and those shows. And
Can
I'm
you
just
explain more? Because right now you sound like these heathens and
no, I'm just saying that it's not these heathens. I don't think the kids that exist are any different than we are. I think they're actually the same. I just think they have more accessibility. They have more because with more accessibility means more education. And education doesn't mean proper education, right? Like education has this connotation that it's positive, but there could be poor education. There could be this, and I think what's happening is because of the accessibility, you are able to see people take on different types of behaviors, and these as more as we see certain behaviors be accepted, the more normal it becomes because everybody's doing it. So then that translates into loss of values. So I believe that there's a lack of honor that exists amongst all men, all women from different generations. It doesn't matter. I just think it's more prevalent with the younger kids because the accessibility that they have, right? And their childhood and what they're able to do growing up. They're starting earlier, you know. I have little kids in my backyard. They went to my camera, you know, and they're like, you know, like maybe 8 or 9, and they hit a ball over the fence. Right? They come, they hop the fence, they get the ball, and then they go to my camera and they stick the finger, right? And my camera is an 8 or 9 year old, right? So like I wouldn't I would have never thought of sticking a middle finger at 8 or 9, maybe 14. And I did that to Jay's dad. He almost broke my face off. So, and I never stuck the middle finger at a grown ass man ever again, right? Unless I'm driving. And and that's just the difference. It's just like I started at a later age. I started fucking around at a later age. These kids are fucking around at 8, 9 years old. And you're going to get a different set of human beings at 20, at 30. It's just a reality because they have more accessibility.
what I was saying is that there is a this distinction between, you know, going to wrapping up with Moses' point about morality and strength in men. It's out there in the sense of like there are men who are still protectors. There are men who still view themselves as capable, and with that strength comes responsibility to see ourselves as protectors of women and the less capable than us. And if that can bring any solace to any woman that has this perception, I hope that it can inform not only those women, but also the direction that men can be and can go in. What is it, Moses?
I saw Jay's face. I couldn't help but laugh. He just looked confused. His eyes are like, and then it distracted me. Sorry, man.
So I was trying to follow along because Ransom was talking really slow, and then Moses caught my eye because he saw me. And so then it was like, don't laugh because he notices I'm struggling right now.
I was understanding, and then I stopped paying attention because I saw Jay's face.
No, I was understanding. It's just he was talking so slow.
I admit I was talking slow, but then on top of that, I went even
Well, we
slower
were
because then I
speaking
started
every
looking at
word.
both of you.
Oh man!
I'm
Ladies,
sorry,
avoid
ladies.
gentlemen like these two.
Unless you want to laugh, then you can hang out with us.
I'll make you laugh in the woods. I'll make funny sounds.
Oh man!
Oh fuck! All right, that's another episode of Mindset U. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and you can find us anywhere. I don't know if you can find us on Spotify anymore. I don't know what happened there. We can find us
Yeah.
on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Audible. Those are the three ones I know you can definitely find us. Yeah, stick around.
Yeah, we'll figure out
We'll talk about other fun stuff.
Spotify. What's going on with Spotify?
All right, see you guys.